How's it going, guys? Welcome to Audio Addiction. We have life-size models with us. They can say their names and what they do in the band.
Hey, I'm Chris. I sing and I play guitar.
I'm Steven, and I play guitar.
All
Nice.
right, Chris and Steven.
Some backing vocals, this is true.
So the first question is the most important question. How did you guys start out the band, and how did you get your members?
Well, it's been sort of a collaborative process from meeting people around the area. Like, you know, we'll meet like somebody at open mic, and then they'll know somebody who, they have a friend who's in a band who just like broke up. So, his guitar, he plays drums. Well, we met each other at birth. So,
Many moons ago.
yeah. And friends of friends, basically. Like Chris Den, our drummer, introduced us to Nick Miller, our guitarist, and I actually met our bassist Anthony on Craigslist, I believe it was. Yeah. So, but we're all over kind of. I don't know how familiar you are with the Bay Area, California.
Okay, yeah.
Where are you located?
I'm located in New Jersey, so I'm on the complete opposite
Okay,
side of the coast.
Yeah.
A lot colder over there.
Yeah.
Yes, much colder.
The Bay Area is just kind of
Sprawling.
and like I guess you could call it like an hour or two apart from each other, depending on if you're like really up north, really south. And we just have like band members every city up going, so like it's a pretty large geographic area to like get everybody together. But we make it work. But yeah, so that's kind of that's where they live and where we've met and all that good stuff.
That's awesome. Well, obviously you two know each other very familiar, because you are family. So I'm just kind of reading into it. I don't want to assume, but I feel like you guys know each other pretty well. So I guess how was like the first practice? Because obviously one of your members is from Craigslist, and my huge worry would be like, is this guy gonna kill me? I'm glad he didn't. So as of current recording, I feel like I don't want to assume. But I feel like
he's playing the long game. I don't know. Maybe he's
play the long game. He might be just trying to. You might be like, the next like Get Out movie or something like that. I hope not for my sake, because I don't want to be an accomplice to this. So
yeah.
If it happens, this interview goes viral. So
That's fair.
either way, it works.
I don't know if that's the way I want to go viral. But hey, whatever. Whoever pays my bills, that would be nice.
Right.
But. So how was like the first practice? Like, obviously you guys are sprawled out in the Bay Area. So when you guys get together, I guess for the first time and more currently, how has the practices been? Obviously, I feel like now it's a little bit harder of a question to ask, but how has it been?
Well, first practice that I met him, we just like jived really well. Ever since then, I feel like that's kind of been the story of everybody that's been in the band. We kind of like work together, and it just feels really good. As of recent, before this like COVID thing happened, we were like doing really well. We had this like what do you call it? Sort of format where we would break songs down really really intricately and like play them to a click and make sure we knew where every sort of like transition and everything was going. And then the lockdown happened, and we kind of had to just like do what we're doing now. We like go on Google Hangout, and kind of like talk about stuff more than like play, because there's lag and everything. It's kind of hard to do that, but we've been like sending demos over. So we'll do some songs and meet at Google Hangout and be like, hey, like what do you guys need and stuff, and then
Throw in the garage band.
yeah
Add a part. Throw like somebody else, and it's actually pretty cool because we're still making progress. And when we get back together in the garage, we'll have more knowledge and more songs than we did before, and then we can kind of workshop them from there. But actually Anthony, who's our bassist, who he met on Craigslist, the most wholesome member of the band. So plays against type.
I had no fear whatsoever. As soon as I saw it was awesome. Yeah.
This wasn't a dig, Anthony. I know you'll watch this, so I'm just trying to look out for the benefit of everybody
he's on
here.
Craigslist too, so I mean,
Some guys.
So I'm glad it worked out. And how's the process been going through demos and stuff? Like, do you feel like there's a little bit, I guess, more creativity because you're allowed to kind of just do what you want to do? I mean, not to say you weren't beforehand, but I feel like you have time to do it now, where you're not like, oh my God, like we have to come up with these tracks to like do a record or like something like that, where it's maybe like a little bit more forced, and this I feel like now everybody's kind of taking a step back and they're like, okay, well, if I'm going to sit down and record my next record, next EP, next LP, whatever it may be, do you find that you're like trying to explore more options, I guess?
I think for sure. I know that the band in general, the drummer of our band, Chris Den, who's phenomenal, phenomenal musician in general. He has a great knack for breaking songs apart and then figuring out how they work, and then what we need, what we don't need. So he's actually taken a couple demos and rearranged them.
Oh, nice.
Because we have the time to do so.
Like
And
pull them apart. Like I had no idea he had this skill. He's like, he asked us what the chords were, and I was like, why do you care? You're a drummer. Did the whole thing in like what, like MIDI or something, and then like created the whole song again, and then sent it back.
Tight.
It's like a Nintendo version of the song we've never heard before.
I was pretty blown away. So that, I mean, that never would have happened, right? Like without this occurring. So we definitely like learned things about each other, and yeah, like I think it's opened up a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
It's utilizing the skills while, you know, everybody's under quarantine. So I appreciate that because, I mean, you feel like you have the time to do it. You might as well utilize it. So that's awesome. But the next question, guys, obviously, what are some favorite venues in the Bay Area or, like, you know, amongst touring that you've enjoyed playing at or seeing a show at, you know, obviously, past tense?
Want to go one-on-one?
Yeah, as far as playing, there's a bar in Santa Cruz. What's it called?
Oh, it's like a restaurant bar, like
the Crepe Place. The Crepe Place. In Santa Cruz, California, and they give you crepes before you play, and then you get to. It's really a tight venue, and so it's really intimate, and you get a lot of interaction that way. And the doors get packed, people like spill out into the street. And it's just a really, really quaint, cool environment.
And there's a glass window, so like when everybody's walking by, you just
that's neat.
A band playing, so they'll be like, "Oh wait, like,
Yeah,
you know." I guess we'll talk about like in San Jose. That's where we are right now. We live in San Jose. There's a place called Art Boutique, and it's like the front of it is a comic book shop, and then the back is like a converted
stage.
Yeah, it's like a pretty big room. They like did the sound up for it. They have like it's all treated. They have like vinyl all up on the walls. They have like the sound guy in the back, the big board, and
there's
like,
a bar as well.
Yeah, there's a bar there. And that's just like a really cool concept for a venue because there's something always to do. You know, if you like it's in between sets or whatever, you can go look at comic books or hang out or like go get a drink or whatever. So it's like a cool place. And then I'm gonna throw one more in there, San Francisco. There's a place called Bottom of the Hill, which is like this super famous venue, like Green there. Yeah. Yeah. So, and that it's just like in terms of the, you know, prestige or
stature. It feels like you play it. Yeah.
I want to throw the Chapel one more in San Francisco. There's one called the Chapel.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't know if you're familiar with Turnover. We saw.
Yes. That's awesome. Yes.
Yeah. So we saw them in this place called the Chapel, and they had these like, it was almost like live watercolor that was being projected onto the wall behind them. So it was like this like.
Okay.
It has some Bay Area history too. So it's actually the dudes that used to do lights for the Grateful Dead back in the day.
Yeah.
They still do lights at the chapel, and so they shine all this style.
And it's like a converted church. So like where I guess where the priest or whatever would be speaking is essentially where the band is. There's a stage now, and like there's a balcony. It's a really neat place.
That's on our bucket list.
That sounds awesome. I would definitely. I went out to San Francisco. I think. Now I'm thinking about it. Now it's been a while. I think it's been like a couple. Definitely like anywhere between 4 to 6 years now at this point. But you know, I didn't have the channel at the time, and I love going to see shows. So when I asked this question, and hopefully I'll be out to San Francisco again soon, I would love to go check out some shows there. I've heard of the Bottom Lounge, but I haven't heard of the Chapel, so that sounds fantastic, and I'll have to go check it out next time.
It's on Mission Street or Valencia Street. So if you Google it,
it's a good tourist spot.
Yeah, genuinely, like, I would totally recommend like that. That would be a good spot to go to.
It just sounds like great. It just sounds like great in terms of probably like acoustics too. It's got to sound like awesome, and then just being in like just a huge area where like you can literally see like a large stage. That's such a cool feeling.
Yeah, definitely.
But the next question, guys, to follow up the venue, what was the last show you guys attended that you didn't play?
Ooh.
Shoot.
Here's the thing: we go to a ton.
A lot of shows.
It's back to back to back to back.
Palace.
Yep, that was it. And that was at Slim's in San Francisco. Slim's is a venue that actually just closed, and it's this iconic people's first gig or first show, like when they're teenagers. It's like 18 plus, right?
Yeah. And the band we saw, Palace, they're British, I believe.
Yes.
And they came over, and this was like their first U.S. tour or whatever, and it was, at Slim's, and the local radio stations here, they have a lot of affiliations with that place, so it was like a really weird thing to close. But yeah, Palace, they're fantastic. And it was actually, we first found that band on the drive to record our first single.
Francisco, so it was like a nice full circle.
Yeah, that's awesome. What type of, like, I'm not familiar with them, so what type of music would you like kind of assimilate them to?
I was trying to think of like adjectives and stuff. I'd say it's like sort of ethereal indie rock, but there's definitely like a sort of
just pop sensibilities in it. Like they have really nice choruses, but it's figured out ethereal kind of Brit rock.
Yeah.
Good. I'll have to. That's a good. That is
check
a
it
good
out.
answer. I'll have to go check it out now. That's
bitter. Check it out. Good one.
Next question, guys. The big one. Who you guys influenced by? Who got you started into music, and then who kind of influences you now currently?
Wow.
I mean, we have posters everywhere, all of our walls over that way too. We're really we're huge fans of rock music, the entire like lineage. I feel like we had this period in high school and in college where we just found a favorite band and then went back and what were they influenced by, and we just went back and back and back, and we spent tons of times in record stores, just like picking out like, oh, we haven't heard this record yet.
Our dad wouldn't let us use like LimeWire or whatever.
Yeah. Rightfully so.
Yeah, I know.
Good for him. Yeah, that's. I
So
can't say the same. I can't say the same for me, but.
Yeah. So we ended up in a lot of record stores and stuff. In terms of like names, I know that in high school I was like super into Foo Fighters, and then I was really into Nirvana because of course, right? Go back.
Of course, yeah.
And then I found the Replacements and the Smiths, and then I went into indie rock territory, which is kind of where I stayed. And then I found the National and Arctic Monkeys and the Strokes and the Cure and
Frightened Rabbit,
yeah,
which is huge influence for us.
Yeah.
Frightened Rabbit's a little more folksy, I guess, at times, but their songwriting is second to none.
Kings of Leon.
Ooh,
yeah.
yeah.
That was right around like mid high school.
Right around our peak years.
Yeah, so that's on the radio, and it's just like it sounds fresh, and really the guitar playing is really really cool because it doesn't need to be super flashy, but it really serves the song. The stuff like that, I think, is more in our wheelhouse.
And speaking of turnover, that's definitely more recent, like past 3-4 years, something like that.
I feel like that has influenced our most recent single, Cusack 1984. Actually that right there is a poster of a pedal by Walrus Audio.
Nice, yeah.
And it has an option, it's called the slow pedal, SLO, and then it has little dots on the top. I can't remember.
Ampersand or something?
Yeah, ampersand. But it has a pad option, and that pedal, one of the reasons I got that pedal and started messing with the pad option, which we use a lot live, is because of the band Turnover. Because when you listen to their stuff, they have like a synth playing under everything, but just really, Kings of Leon does that as well, actually, which I found out. So but it's not a synth. It's a guitar pedal that he's got going the whole time. So we were like, okay, either it's that pedal or this pedal. And so
Stella's idea.
yeah.
Influenced.
I'm gonna put influenced. But no, that's how I felt about the track because I checked out Cusack 1984, and I try to do my homework when I have bands on and stuff. So I felt a strong Turnover vibe, and I was like, I can get down with this band just because like a lot of the artists I have on, I'm like interested in what they do, but there's just some artists that I have on that I'm like, okay, these are like bands that I listen to, and so like I try to kind of like pick out the sort of different influences, and then like I try to see how close I am to like what you guys say. Like if I'm far off, that's cool. Like that gives me more motive to like really think about it. But when I'm close, I like feel like I'm like this has to be it, like
Did
100%.
you did you pick a like couple bands or something that you thought we were?
Like I said, I feel like Turnover was definitely one of them.
Mhm.
I'm trying to think who else. A little bit Kings of Leon, because I could hear it in my head. I was like, I haven't listened to Kings of Leon in a while, and I was like, this feels faintly familiar to that. And then trying to think who else. Now you're putting me on the spot. Now I have to think.
Yeah,
Um,
tables of turn, my friend.
I think the Killers, a little bit of the Killers in there
Okay.
too. Kings of Leon's Killers, like Turnover. I feel like those three bands in particular were the ones that I was like first initial thoughts when I was listening to the single. I was like, yep, those are the three. There might be another one that I'm like completely blanking on right now, but I feel like those three are the solid choices. So
It's awesome.
We love all those bands, and
Yeah.
we've actually gotten comparisons to The Cure more recently.
interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Huge like compliment. I don't.
Yeah.
We listen to them a lot,
Yeah.
but I think one thing that's interesting about the influence is we kind of tied that into our band name and like the idea that we are trying to be life-size versions of these idols that we've listened to our entire lives, because it's just this larger than life thing when you idolize a musician or you love music or whatever passion you're into. At a certain point when you try to get into it, there's a lot of self-doubt and a lot of trying to just be,
Figure out like how to do
Yeah,
it, how
just-
to not try to be like
can I just
David
do
Bowie
it?
or something.
yeah, not that you could be, right?
No, but
it's the idea that that influence doesn't really bleed over into like, okay, I'm going to write a song that sounds like this. It's more of like, I think it comes out organically, and
Yeah.
we hope the idea is to like, it's always a mix of influences, because if we sound exactly like a band, then maybe we aren't doing the right thing.
I think it's more like whenever I hear a band or I have bands on and stuff like that, and I kind of like do the comparison thing, it's not necessarily like for me to be like, yeah, you guys sound just like this band. I think it's more so like for me to like kind of like wrap my head around the influences and to be like, are they putting that extra feeling that I may not get with another band? And 9 times out of 10, that usually is the case. So I don't feel like there's any kind of delineation between like the bands that you obviously are influenced by, but I also feel like there's a point when you're having a band on and you want them to be like expressive, and when you're listening to the song you're like, wow, this is something different that I haven't heard, or it just kind of feels like a good combination of influences where it's not like, oh my god, they're blatantly ripping these guys off, like how are they still doing it, you know what I mean? So I think it's important to take influences, but I also feel like it's important to have your own makeup and your own sound. And I feel like a lot of bands, 99% of bands do it, unless you're like a cover band, then in case you'd just be covering their songs.
yeah, we do definitely talk about like during writing processes, or maybe the way that we communicate with each other is like taking the influence of like if I'm writing a specific part or something, we'll often be like, well, I mean, for example, in Cusack 1984, the riff of that song that starts the song and stuff. I remember thinking like I wanted to try to write something that like sounded like something Johnny Marr would do, like the Smiths. And so it was kind of like me trying to like do that, but obviously I don't have the skills he has, so it ended up sounding more like me. So we definitely talk about like, maybe this part can be a little bit more this direction, and use those as adjectives, because it helps a lot for me personally. Because like you said, like, you have the DNA of the band, then you have like their influences, and they kind of come up with something that's them.
It's the meet in the middle sort of portion of a band. If you can't do that, then I feel like maybe you shouldn't be doing music. That's the whole point of enjoying those sorts of things, is like being able to hear where the influences come from, but it's not so overbearing that it's like, okay, they're just trying to emulate this.
Yeah.
So but the next question, guys, keeping it more current, who have you been jamming recently?
It's been a great week for music, hasn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, the Strokes came out with their
Sixth.
Yeah, there were a couple here.
One of the two.
But we've been listening to that one a lot. It's is pretty great. It has a lot of like Julian's influence from his solo stuff, and
I feel like everybody's stuff from their solo stuff
Yeah,
when it came to this
Albert,
one. Yeah,
yeah.
it's really cool. Like they really pushed themselves.
But that's been on our playlist. Elvis to Presley.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
He came out with another record, and we discovered him at that Turnover show in the chapel we were talking about.
He opened for Turnover.
He opened, and I just remember being blown away by his set. And then I shouted out in the crowd, "Great set!" And he turned around and he shook my hand and he said thank you, but he was rushing to the merch table, and that really struck me as like, wow, he took the time to do that instead of just blowing it off
on his like 40th show of the tour.
Yeah,
one dude.
So I've been a huge fan since then. His songwriting is second to none, and this new record is just so cool. It's a ton of great sounds.
Yeah. Phoebe Bridgers.
Yeah,
she came out with a new song.
Phoebe Bridgers
called Kyoto, which is really cool. The National, even though that's not really.
It's always playing.
Yeah,
it's always in the rotation.
It's been like one of our favorite bands for a decade now, and they're always around.
We've seen them like 8 times, 9 times.
Yeah. They did a couple like 2-date tours, and we're like, well, gotta go both.
I gotta go do it.
Different sets each night. It's fantastic.
I'm such a big fan. We gotta go to both nights. You know.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I do want to kind of circle back to something that you mentioned earlier in the influences. You said that your dad took you to a bunch of record stores. So first question be, do you guys still collect vinyl or collect records? And second, what was the most current pickup that you got vinyl wise? Because I'm a big vinyl fan, so I'm always curious what other people pick up.
Yeah. Yes, we definitely he started a little before me. I feel like I jumped on the CD train because that was my thing for a long time, and then collecting CDs, and that was kind of what I did. And people
like before their vinyl resurgence,
right? Yeah, so people come over to our house and they'd be like, "Why do you have all these CDs, dude? It's online."
Yeah,
and like, because I want the package,
the physicality of it. I love that. So I mean to interject, but I feel like a lot of people don't understand my love for like the physical nature of like CDs or like vinyls or something.
There's so much artwork involved that you never get if you just see that.
Yeah.
And they color the vinyl, or it's just tons of options. And so he kind of kept doing it. And then, I walk by his room and he'd be playing, and it's like, damn, I need a vinyl. And so I already had a player like hanging around that we'd share. And so I decided that I would continue that and kind of, shed the CD thing a little bit, considering stores don't really, stock
hard to find
much.
them now, unless you go to the store, in which case there's vinyl there anyway. So and you get a download card. So yeah.
But what was your most recent purchase?
I was hoping you wouldn't ask me that.
I got a couple for Christmas.
Oh yeah.
And
was there like Revolver?
No,
that wasn't this year.
No, I know I got a Father John Misty.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Yeah, it was Pure Comedy, which was it's massive. It's like this thick
double LP.
Yeah, that was great. That's awesome to listen. I also got a Nirvana Unplugged. I think that was the most recent one, and it was a gift. And I think it was for Valentine's Day. And it's beautiful. Like I've always loved that stuff, and it's gone on rotation again, and it just revitalizes my love for that band. The fact that they can go soft and quiet and just go really, really loud.
My girlfriend brought over Pink Floyd's The Final Cut, and we listened. And I hadn't heard that record. I'm a huge fan of The Wall, Dark Side, but then I hadn't heard that one. So that was the last one that is sitting on my record player right now. The Final Cut. It was super great. Yeah. So there you go. Yep.
There we go. Awesome. Next question.
What about you?
You have.
Good answer.
Ooh.
Yeah, I'm curious.
I feel like I should know this, and I don't.
Same.
I think it was John Mayer. I picked up a John Mayer record. I believe it was the first record, for, Room for Squares.
Yeah.
That one.
Bangers on that one.
Classic John Mayer record. So I had to pick that up. That was like one of the first like I guess more like modern guitar players that I had picked up, because a lot of the stuff I grew up with was like classic rock,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
and he was like one of the first like modern guitar players that I found. And I was just like, his guitar works like sick. Like I gotta get this record. And so I'm in. I had actually, my friend and I had went to a record store, and he loves John Mayer as well. And I was just like, there's only one left, so I was just like, dude, take it. I was like, I'll find it eventually or whatever. And then I kind of
Wow.
like passed on it, and I like it was just like, and I had just thought about it like more currently, and I was just like, I should just get this. And I was like scrolling through like a record store, and it was there, and I was like, it's just fate. I have to get it. So then I ended
Yeah.
up buying it. So I think that was the most current one. There may have been others, but that was the most recent one I could think of. So I try to get as many as I can on like release week or thereafter. But the next question, guys, a fun one. If you guys could pick a song to cover, what would it be?
This is time for a shameless plug.
Well, we did cover "I'm on Fire" by Bruce Springsteen.
Ooh.
It's like a song everybody covers, and we like did it a little differently, but not in like a really bizarre way. I feel like there's like I hear like it's either you kind of cover the song similarly to the original song, or you do something completely different. We kind of again try to meet in the middle a little bit, but it's on the same release as Cusack 1984.
It's a double.
Yeah,
side,
so it's a slow build, and I feel like we retained the what would you say, feeling, the vibe of the
The
original one.
essence of the song.
Essence, that's the word. Yeah.
We kind of rock out
Yeah.
in the middle of it, and that one's always been a favorite of ours, I think. And so we kind of wanted more of it, I think. We were just jamming on it, and we're like, well, this kind of fits as a song. And the first one's like a minute and a half or 2 minutes or something. So yeah, that's something we cover. What else would we cover?
So I think like a modern song that I would cover.
Our band always talks about this, and because we had a certain amount of songs we were really comfortable with. Sometimes we have to do 3-hour shows, and so we want to throw on covers. So we've done Two Door Cinema Club, Smith, or not Smith,
New Order,
The Velvet Underground,
The Cure. I would love to do an Arctic Monkeys song.
Ooh,
Yeah.
Okay.
They have so many different styles. Every record is different.
We did The Strokes at one point. We had
Yeah.
we were playing a show, and we had like the other bands on the bill come up and sing with us. Like each person had a verse or whatever.
Sick. Okay.
Reptilia, and it was pretty
Yeah.
cool. Yeah. Yeah, I think that's a good list.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Any and all of the above.
There we go. And if you have any suggestions for life-size models, drop them below. I'm sure they'll check them out.
Yeah.
Please do. Yeah.
Next question, guys. Another fun one as well. Favorite food to eat? What's the go-to? What's the go-to meal?
Well, we're British by blood, and so shepherd's pie has been around in my family for a long time, and I always gravitate towards that. I used to say pasta of any kind.
Really?
I used to. Yeah. Now it's shepherd's pie. I don't know. Like recently, I think because the weather's been kind of like cloudy here, for California, and just been stuck inside. I feel like comfort food just kind of what I'm leaning towards.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna go with that.
The first thing I was gonna say Thai, because like in the past couple of years, friends have been like, "Here's some Thai food," and I've been like, "Why have I not tried this?" It's fantastic. But the first thing that popped in my head was bangers, beans, and chips, which is literally just like sausage, beans, fries. But I don't know. There's something like comforting about it. Like our grandma used to make it and stuff. And
but like what I usually eat is some various of like Mexican or Japanese food. That tends to be what I go for, because we are very, very blessed to be in the Bay Area, where you can have any type of food you want.
Yeah.
It's like New York, where oh, what do you want today? Like, let's go around the corner. And so I'd say that.
Yeah.
I would happen to agree with that. When I went to San Francisco, I had everything from like Mission area burritos to like the seafood, like at the harbor. So I can get down with that. So I can get down with your answers.
Did you have like a specific? Was one of them better than the other, or you just remember?
I mean, I love seafood, so I feel like, you can't get any fresher than somebody like literally just going out and like catching it and bringing it in.
Yeah.
Um, but I would probably say the burrito. That the burrito in Mission District. I don't remember what the place was, but it was just like this like mom and pop like Mexican restaurant. Like one that it's legit when your remedial Spanish does not help you out whatsoever, and,
Oh
and,
yeah.
and your friend has to order it for you because he speaks Spanish way better than you do. So if you can find a restaurant like that, I feel like that's the one. You can't beat it. So I would say for me personally, it was the burritos for sure.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you can go to any place. Like it's either like it's a night out and you're drunk, and it's like like I gotta go to, and like if you're roaming around San Francisco, that's where you go.
Yeah.
And there's like a ton of taquerias.
Yeah.
In that vicinity, and every single one is amazing.
Yeah.
And exactly like you described.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's basically that. That's how I feel like it is. Whenever you go to like something like cultural, if they don't speak English very well or they can barely speak it, that's the
Right.
quintessential spot. That's how you know you're getting the legit food. So,
Yeah.
but next question, guys. Getting back to the music stuff, if you guys could pick somebody to collaborate with, whether it be a guest feature on your next record or a producer you'd like to work with, who would it be?
Man,
Peter Cadis.
yeah, Peter Cadis is a producer.
Okay.
He produced Midnight Organ Fight by Frightened Rabbit. He produced High Violet by The National.
Turn on the bright lights
By
by
Interpol.
Interpol.
He did a Brian Fallon record recently.
Yeah.
Nice.
Anthem.
Yeah, he's phenomenal producer.
Basically, just like, and it was all by like coincidence. We'd like come to love these records and then find out he
Yeah.
did them.
Yeah.
So it was just
But in that same breath, we've actually been working really closely with a producer and a recording engineer at Tiny Telephone in San Francisco and Oakland, and they're a dream team. Like they were on our list. Like as soon as we
Awesome.
who they were and how they are as people, it's been amazing. Like every single time we talk to them or go into the studio, I'm just so excited to be around them and working with them. It's great. So
just for the record, her name is Miriam Kudos.
yes,
And Bo Sorensen.
yes,
He's handled some of the mixing and stuff. And yeah, they're just really fantastic people. But you have a $1 million budget and you're gonna go. Peter Cadis would be fun.
yeah. If he could jump into the mix, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, you come hang out with Miriam.
And then I always think it'd be really cool to have Phoebe Bridgers as like some sort of.
Ooh, okay.
I've been really into the Boy Genius stuff she's done, Better Living Community Center. She did stuff with Matt from the National, and her actual stuff is just great. And she seems like she'd be really cool to hang out with.
It's like one of those voices that you just like,
You stop.
it's sort of undeniably,
Yeah.
And she's not trying. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I'm sure she is trying, but it's kind of like for me, like Morrissey of the Smiths is that way. Robert Smith of the Cure is that way. Like you just hear their voice and it's like distinctly them, but it's just super pleasing. You know what I mean? Like there's a lot of good voices out there, but not a lot of people have like that thing. But I
It's
think
that minimal effort of just like it just comes out and people just like know it,
yeah, and the tone is just there, and yeah, like there's just something about it. Yeah, super
Well,
gifted.
we all know Phoebe Bridgers watches this. I mean, I feel like she does. I want to assume she does, but I don't want to read into anything. So Phoebe, if you're watching this, we're gonna make sure to at you on Twitter. I don't know if you use Twitter or not.
She's pretty social media savvy,
She is.
so
Listen,
not-
this is the talk. So like, I feel like for Phoebe Bridgers, if you're watching this, please work with life-size models. I'm just saying you don't have to, but I feel like I have to give my 2 cents about it. So you should do it.
like spoken.
Yeah,
It shall happen.
It shall be done. Yes.
Well, it's on the internet, so it's out there in the ether. So if it happens, you got to put it out in the universe. So
Give me credit, man. Give me credit.
the next question, guys, obviously, you play instruments, but if there was one other one that you could master, what would it be?
Well, I play the guitar, so I'd like to master that first. I think it's a completely theory, like like Zach Galifianakis in The Hangover, where it just like goes to, where I'm like, what is that? What is that scale? I just know it, so that'd be awesome. Other than that, I think piano, because it's just another amazing songwriting tool, and something like Nick Cave can jump from like a guitar heavy song to like a piano ballad, and there's never been a piano ballad I've heard that that doesn't strike me like at least in sonic texture. So I think that for sure would be what I would want.
Even like Bryan Adams songs from the '80s, those are like really those get to you.
I you know what? We'll talk.
That's a really broad stroke.
They
like
do
any piano ballad, anything, right?
I mean, at least in sonic texture, like with like hitting a key and having like the reverb kind of like
They're
bounce
powerful,
off of
yeah.
it.
Okay.
That sound it always catches me, whether or not like it gets to me, like maybe some Bryan Adams stuff does in the wrong way. I think that yeah, that's something that I would really like to utilize.
I have no interest in mastering my instruments, so I'd like to move on to the drums. I've always wanted to be a drummer. And, I would I was started off wanting to do drums. I remember they like gave me a little pad or whatever, like this guy at the guitar store. And then I was supposed to rub my head and tummy at the same time to try to get like and I still do it. So
that was like his test. He's like, "Can you do this?"
Yeah.
And like an 8-year-old kid.
Yeah, and I did a shot, and they're like, "You should play guitar." I was like, "Oh, jeez, okay."
That's where the deprecation started. And
I also feel like, okay, so the running joke of the channel for 4 years has been that I'm a guitar player too, and that most guitar players want to play drums and most drummers want to play guitar. So I feel like because guitar players have no hand-feet coordination, that is why they can't play. That's why they can't play drums, and then drummers just have the hand and feet coordination. But I feel like drummers, if they're jumping from drums to guitar, I feel like they're a little bit better off, and then guitar players were just like a lost cause, and we're just like, I was like, I could maybe like keep a 4/4 beat or something like that, but that's about it. I couldn't go nuts,
Yeah, like at practice, if our drummer's not there every now and then, I'll like try to get the kick like in time so people can I mean, speaking of that, like the drummer going to guitar, like I think that's why Foo Fighters are so good.
Yeah,
because he's got like a built-in drummer inside of him that's helping him write these riffs. So it's like you have two people working simultaneously in the same body.
Yeah, he apparently writes stuff like kick snare.
Yeah,
and like so he does that, and then people react to it because they're like bobbing their heads to what he's actually internalizing when he's writing. So pretty insane.
That's what
I mean, guitar players. We have the pedals to kick, right? We can do that.
But I miss those all the time.
Yeah, I can't see, so I feel like
Good point. When it's dark. There was one time we played a show and the lights went out for a little bit, and it was like during a part where I had like a little mini solo, and I had to try to turn on a boost pedal, and I just totally because it was dark, I couldn't see it. I was like,
and there was one time where we played outside on a stage, and it was too bright, and I couldn't see like any of see what was on and what wasn't. So that wasn't great either.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Have it
drummers have like one job, like just get up there and hit stuff.
Yeah, I mean, but then they also have the task of taking down and pulling apart their drums and stuff like that. So I feel like it's kind of like whatever, tomato. That's how I see it. It's a little bit.
I just have a microphone. I don't do anything. I show up on. I make everybody else carry my stuff.
Oh wow! All right.
That's how it goes here. Yeah.
I mean, I feel like that's not true, but I'm just gonna let you say whatever you want to say about that.
That's gonna be the cool quote.
Yeah.
That's gonna be the quote of this interview.
Title of the video.
But the next question, guys, my personal favorite. I'm a huge nerd, so I love asking this. If you could be a video game character, who would you be?
Ooh.
Despite how it ended, John Marston from Red Dead Redemption. He is pretty badass, right? Like he just and he seemed like a good guy underneath it all. You know what I mean?
Troubled,
but yeah.
Well, yeah.
I because we just finished Uncharted 4. And like I would love to have that shoulder strength to just be able to climb like nothing. So I would say Nathan Drake, and my second choice would be Mario because it's just the world is so bizarre, and I don't understand. I like to really get in there and like question the mushrooms and Bowser and like, is this all a drug reference or is it just really creative, and why do they all look different in every like iteration? It's just I'd really like to get to the bottom of that. So
And like talk to Peach. Like,
yeah,
what is your problem?
dude? Send her a
She like doesn't care about Mario at all. Not even a little bit.
you know how many times he risks his life, and she's just like, "Cool, thanks, Mario,"
Yeah,
and then
nothing.
boom.
Gets kidnapped again.
Yeah.
You feel like Bowser would just like move on, you know? He's just like he would just be
Yeah.
like, I'm over this. He's like, how many games do I have to do in order for like this broad to be like, you know, I feel bad for him, you know, and in such
Really
a way,
outmatched.
like I feel
Like Mario beats him.
yeah, and he's like a normal guy. Like you figure like he's just like an average Joe. Like he literally does plumbing for a living. And then you got this dude that's like some like mutated turtle that like
Yeah.
shoots fire out of its mouth. I mean, come on. There's like no
Smooth
chance.
kingdom, you know, there's other princesses, you know.
Yeah.
I think
I don't know, maybe not.
maybe not.
Maybe there's just one woman. So I don't know.
This is the existential question I think that everybody if you feel like you have a good answer and you're watching this, and please leave it below, because I would love to read your take on it, you know. So anybody watching this, I'm very curious. I don't even know myself, but I would be curious to read it. So but the next question, guys, getting back to the music stuff, if you were to compile a dream tour, who would be on the lineup? Obviously your band's on it as well.
Oh, really?
Oh shit.
God, that's
Are you talking like festival or like just a tour?
I feel like yeah, we should. You know, why don't we make it interesting? We'll make it a We'll make it a festival. I feel like I'll give you. I'm feeling generous today, so let's go with 8 slots. Four from you, and four split each way. So.
Okay.
living or dead?
Or,
Oh, this is tough. Let's do living, just for
Okay.
fun. Yeah.
Okay.
all right. You go first, and I'll think because I don't want to take your answers.
Okay. Go. Obviously, the Strokes, Arctic Monkeys, Joey Badass.
Interesting. Okay.
Because like you wouldn't expect that, and I feel like he's really good live. I've not seen him live.
Yeah, he's a band, which is actually really cool. Like they have trumpets and all kinds of like cool guitar. That'd be cool.
Turnover, and
Is that 4?
that's 4.
That is
I need-
4.
It's 4 and 4.
Oh.
I'm
He was
gonna
trying to
say
think about it. He was trying to add another one and didn't even know it. And then you'd be like, "Oh, now I'm down to 3. I wonder what that's about."
probably the National. I would do Father John Misty because he was on the show. You already said the Strokes. I'm not gonna say Julian or like Albert or anybody like that. Who else?
Adele.
Adele.
That'd be pretty legendary.
I mean, yeah, people would go for sure. Great voice. Her music rocks. Let's throw her in there. Why not?
You have one more.
Like a legacy act or a tiny act?
I know. This is the thing. Help me out here.
We saw Fleetwood Mac like 5 years ago, and they were great. And then we saw them again like last year, and they weren't that good. So I was gonna say Fleetwood Mac, but Bruce, no.
Let's do the Pixies.
Yeah, there you go.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would go.
Legendary act.
That'd be incredible. Yeah.
There we go. Well, you can find the Life-Size Model Festival in the Bay Area. I'm not going to specify where it's at because we're still picking the location.
Golden Gate Park. Outside Lands will let us do this one. Yeah.
There you go. Well, I'm glad we're getting the clearance now. The festival will be happening in late 2021 because we don't know how long this is going to last for. So make sure you get your tickets. They're in the description.
Yeah.
If you wanna pre-order now for the show, you know, because we're putting it out there in the universe, and you know we know how bands are. Bands are itching to get out there, so I feel like, you know, might as well put it in the ether somewhere, and maybe it might happen.
Love it.
Next question, guys. To follow up the amazing festival you guys came up with. In your opinion, who puts on a great live performance? Who just rips it on stage?
So many people. We've seen so many artists throughout the years. It's like kind of a hobby of ours to go to music festivals and to shows. And so the one that I mentioned earlier with Father John Misty, he stuck out as being just incredible, like an incredible performer. His voice is amazing, but he also just like runs across the stage and like just totally into it. He's down on his knees. It's a pretty crazy show.
Band is super tight.
Yeah. Who else?
Childish Gambino shocked me.
Yeah.
Ooh, okay.
I actually don't like necessarily like connect with his studio stuff that much, but seeing him live, yeah, it was like a totally again live band, and like they just I don't know, brought something to the music that wasn't on the recordings.
They just switched genres like effortlessly. He was incredibly energetic when he needed to be, and then he went and he hit these super high notes when he needed to, and he never really compromised on either one.
And it felt like a
show.
Yeah, like a show. I mean, that's like kind of a vague statement, but like just a very well crafted, like, you know, hit the marks here and here and here, and like it just took you along for a ride.
Yeah.
I think I mentioned Foo Fighters like 8 times. Like
we've seen them a ton too.
Yeah.
Throughout the years.
Everybody knows he's incredible showman, and the band is great. And I thought there was somebody that I saw like at Outside Lands that blew me away one time.
Apparently not.
I guess, yeah.
You can't remember it. It's that good. I feel like when I've had those moments where I've been like, this band's so incredible live, and I can't remember their name, but I feel like either it will come to us in the rest of this interview, or I'll get some sort of email about this is the band that I was thinking of, and then host Brandon will be on it, and he'll put the name up there.
I'll film myself again, and you can just
slice the clip.
Yeah.
I'll cut out that one portion where we were like just both like. What was the answer? But I have not seen Gambino or Foo Fighters, and those are two on my bucket list. So I'm glad that you mentioned them, because I don't know if Gambino is doing anything. That would be great if you're watching, because I know you watch Donald Glover. If you're
in between his writing,
in between his TV show. But yeah, I'd love to see him, and then Foo Fighters. I feel like I'd have more of a chance of seeing Foo Fighters, so I have to see them next time they come around.
You're really gonna let you down, man. They're really fantastic. Yeah.
Next question, guys. Another fun one. Favorite TV show, favorite movie?
Oh, we're huge movie buffs.
Yeah, we actually we did film in college for.
That is very cool.
So my favorite film is Vertigo by Alfred Hitchcock.
Yeah.
Jimmy Stewart's like probably. I used to have top 5 actors. I'm not sure anymore, but I know Jimmy Stewart's like at the top. And he just has this like affable, lovable personality, but he just totally flips it in that movie. And I'm a huge mystery thriller kind of a guy. So I really like that film, and it's set in San Francisco, so it feels kind of nostalgic, and it's really well done. The music, the soundtrack's amazing. And then my favorite show, I would probably say, I was going to say Breaking Bad, which is probably the real answer, but I feel like a show called Chuck from 2000.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, that holds a dear spot in my heart. Introduced me to a ton of amazing music. The soundtrack was fantastic. And it kind of voiced like something that you don't really get on television a lot. Like they're making Batman '89 references and like all these cool like concepts, and it was genuinely funny. So I'd probably go with Chuck. How about you?
Great answers. I have like a default film nerd answer. I'll say Citizen Kane, but then like on top of that, pretentious. Like so, I'm gonna go with an opposite. I'll go with Terminator 2: Judgment.
Interesting. Okay.
Because I just feel like it's the peak like action film. It's like it does pretty much all practical stunts. They have amazing script. It's fun. It's engaging. It's like kind of deep. Heartfelt. Yeah, I just think it's like a great, like extremely well crafted action film. Or Die Hard.
Yeah,
another one really
classic.
good.
Yeah.
And then yeah, I'm gonna go with Breaking Bad for the TV show. I've really haven't. Yeah, I don't think I've ever really watched like an entire series of TV before that. I was just like completely hooked on it, and I haven't since. Maybe it's because I just was so like impacted by that one that I haven't been able to like.
You compare it. Yeah.
Yeah, everything. I'm like, is this as good as Breaking Bad? No, but
is this worth my time?
Yeah.
Which is a fair question to ask yourself when you know, well, now maybe not so much, but I feel like beforehand when you have things to do, yes, that's
yeah, and you got to invest like, a lot of time and energy, and yeah, I just felt like the Walter White character was like played so well, written so well, very, very
Bryan
good.
Cranston, excellent job, incredible job,
better than Malcolm in the Middle, even like I was blown away, man.
There we go, guys. Oh, what were you gonna say? My favorite? Okay, so
you gotta have some
favorite TV show. I haven't watched TV in a while, just because this takes up a good 99% of my time. But when I do watch TV shows, I love like the dry humor shows. So I would say like like The Office or like Parks and Rec. But I would say out of those sorts of shows, my favorite is Brooklyn Nine-Nine. That one's probably by far my favorite. I love Andy Samberg. I think he's a huge goofball, and he's awesome. As for movie, I would have to say, I don't know if you're familiar with the like Studio Ghibli movies.
Yeah.
Howl's Moving Castle is by far my favorite movie. I think cinematically it's beautiful. I think the voice actors that they had for the English version is great, but I've also watched like the Japanese version as well with subs. But it's such a excellent movie, and I just think like Billy Crystal's in the movie as like the English actor, one of the English actors, and like how could you say no to Billy Crystal? I mean, he just seems like a fun guy. So
is that the one? Is that the one with Christian Bale?
Correct.
Is like
yes, he's like the lead actor, and then I forget the female lead, but she's also a popular actress as well. So just solid voice lineup that I feel like really kind of sells the characters even more so. So I would say that one. If it's non-animated, I'm gonna be cliche and I'm gonna say Avengers Endgame. I feel like I'm a comic book fan, and I just feel like that's the way that they sent off like that whole like. I think it was like almost 2 decades worth of movies and stuff like that. I feel like it was just well crafted. So I'd have to say that movie.
Yeah, great choices, man. Yeah, like I saw The Howl's Moving Castle like maybe last year or year before. I hadn't seen it before. My girlfriend showed it to me because she had that Studio Ghibli collection.
Nice.
And yeah, that was really great. And Endgame too. Like I think we both felt the same way. I think we like watched it separately, and then we texted each other right afterwards. And I think he was just like, oh my god, I can't believe they did it. Like they did it. They
did it.
Yeah, so right on the page with you. I can't believe that they sent it off like that. Like it was just great.
But it was good. I think the way that they closed, like I said, they close off the series of movies, I think it's great. And I think the way that the direction that they're going with the movies now, I think is really awesome too. So shout out to Marvel. Continue making great movies. But the next question, guys, if you're trapped on a desert island similar to like Castaway, what would be one album you would bring with you for the next month?
Oh, month. Okay.
Not a year, not forever. I feel like that's tough. That's a hard question to answer.
Yeah. Just got to bring like a really long record so you can stretch the tracks out. A month would be doable.
I would bring Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band by the Beatles.
Ooh, okay.
My favorites. It was like one of the first albums I really attached to, where I realized like make a ton of different types of songs, and instrumentation is just amazing. So I would do that just because it's so varied. A Day in the Life is like 2 amazing songs in one, and yeah, I would definitely choose that one.
Good call.
Plus, that's getting better on it, and that's like raises my morale. On the desert island. And
I would go with Pink Floyd's The Wall for the isolation.
Ooh.
Self-reflection, and it's long. There's opera on there. There's like classic rock. There's piano ballads like you enjoy, and yeah, it's such a diverse choice. I think that I could make that work for about a month. Yeah.
There we go. And the last thing, guys, tell them about Life Size Models, where they can find you out on social media, and anything coming up in the relative future. We all we all don't know what's gonna happen, but I'm just gonna whatever happens. That's what's gonna be going on.
Yeah, you can find us on Spotify. You can find us on Instagram, and we're at Life Size Models
with 2 S's. So
Yes.
Life Size Models and another S
on
afterwards.
Instagram. Spotify, you can just type us in. We're on Facebook, YouTube,
TikTok.
SoundCloud,
We're gonna go back.
Bandcamp,
All streaming services. So Apple Music.
Pandora.
Yep.
And then the second part of the question was releases or anything in the future. You want to take this one?
We've been working on songs for a long time. He has a backlog of songs, and we all kind of joined the band like after one another, essentially. And I'd been around since the band was like starting, and I'd help here and there, but I wasn't officially a member of the band until 2 years ago, maybe. So that has yielded a lot of content from him, and
Yeah.
so we've been working on a lot of that, and we have recorded a couple songs already. We plan on putting out a couple records within the next couple of years, and we have another single in the can, as they say.
Yeah, so we got a couple more songs recorded, and yeah, we had plans at this point. This was kind of like the start of executing a couple quick releases, and then kind of like a
Packaging an album.
Yeah,
Sure.
putting the record later in the year. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
We're supposed to actually go in the studio this weekend.
Yeah.
And then finish the record, finish everything. And we had to reschedule. So we're hoping it happens in June now. If it doesn't happen in June, we got other dates in July. And then, so by the end of the year, I think it's safe to say we'll have something out.
Yeah.
And a couple songs between now and maybe August or October.
We have a couple surprises in between to keep everyone engaged, and in between the official releases. So we have a lot planned out, and as soon as the government says go, doing it. So
yeah, we're ready to go.
There we go. Well, I want to give a shout outs to Muddy Paw. Shout outs to Erica, Angela. They're the best. Ironically enough, today I posted an interview with them. So if you want to check that out as of day of recording, you can check that out. Not to plug that, but I feel like I have to plug Life Size Models as well. Check out their newest single, Cusack 1984. I'll leave a link to that in the description as well, along with all of their social media. Make sure to go give them a follow on Spotify. I know that's pretty big now because everybody's at home and they're listening to music. So listen, you have no excuse. You have to go listen to Cusack 1984. If I can do it, I feel like anybody else can do it. So go do it. And if you enjoy this interview, share it, like it, subscribe. It goes a long way. And make sure to go tweet at Phoebe Bridgers so they can get that vocal feature. I want it. We all know that you watching want it too. So make sure to go do that. And thanks, of course, to Life Size Models for coming on today.
Thank you so much, Brandon.
Thank you.